Hello, I'm Ray Wang, Dean of the York University Faculty of Science. Welcome to our virtual event celebrating the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between York University, Canada, and the University of the Witwatersrand in South Africa. We will formally begin our event with a virtual land acknowledgement. As this event is virtual and we are not all gathered in the same space, I recognize that this land acknowledgement might not be for the territory that you are currently on. We ask that if this is the case, you take the responsibility to acknowledge the traditional territory you are on and the current treaty holders. As a member of the York University community, I recognize that many indigenous nations have long-standing relations with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many indigenous nations. The area known as Takaranto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peacefully share and care for the Great Lakes region. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our speakers today. Rhonda Lanton, President and Vice Chancellor, York University, Canada. Zebulon Vilakazi, Vice Chancellor and Principal, University of the Witwatersrand, South Africa. Nasser Faruqi, Director, Education and Science with the Government of Canada's International Development Research Center, IDRC. Jude Kang, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Faculty of Science, York University. Bruce Melado, Professor of Physics and Director of the Institute of Collider Particle Physics, University of the Witwatersrand. Amir Azif, Vice President Research and Innovation, York University. Robert Oliphant, Parliament Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Canada and MP for Don Valley West. As we continue to battle COVID-19 worldwide, York University and the University of the Witwatersrand are building on a successful collaboration to tackle COVID-19 across Africa. This collaboration is crucial to the future of our health as a global community. It expands on an ongoing project by the International Consortium of Experts in Disease Modeling and Artificial Intelligence that will help stop the spread of COVID-19 and prevent future outbreaks. This project, led by Faculty of Science Professor Jude Kang, has received more than 1.2 million from the Government of Canada's International Development and Research Center, IDRC. We extend our sincere gratitude to the IDRC and the Government of Canada for their support of this important initiative. Now, please allow me to introduce York University President and Vice Chancellor Rhonda Lanton for her remarks.
Good morning to my colleagues and our guests joining us from Canada, and good afternoon to our colleagues and guests joining us from South Africa today. I am delighted that we have the opportunity to celebrate the beginning of a transformative partnership between York University and the University of the Witwatersrand. I wanted to also extend my own acknowledgement to all of our panelists and guests today, but given that our wonderful MC and the Dean of Science at York University, Rui Wang, has just introduced everyone, I won't go through all the names again, but of course, we're also looking forward to hearing from our panelists, and so glad to be joined on the panel with the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Witwatersrand, Zebulon Wilukazi. And I hope the rest of our guests will excuse me if I don't go through all the names once again. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us today. And I believe in our audience that we also have the Vice Chancellor and Principal of Botswana International University of Science and Technology, Otohesui Totolo. And I'm so glad that this embarks for us really a strengthening of the strategic relationship between us and the universities that have joined us today. I want to thank everyone for taking the time. Over the past 60 years, York University is still considered quite a young university, but it's grown to be the third largest university in Canada. And I'm very proud of what we're known for. Our vision and our commitment is to provide a broad demographic of students with access to a high quality, research intensive learning experience committed to driving positive change in our local communities and around the world. And we maximize our impact by working collaboratively across all sectors with all levels of government, the private sector, not-for-profit, our community partners, other universities, and engaged citizens. And the need to work together across sectors has become increasingly important over time, given the increasingly complex challenges that we face, including climate change, systemic inequality, and of course, a variety of local and global health issues, including the pandemic. In many ways, COVID-19 is a manifestation of existing socioeconomic and environmental issues, and it has served to underscore the urgent need for cooperation and collective action to ensure that we have the talent, the research, and the innovation needed to keep individuals and the world safe. Fortunately, York and our global partners are ready to respond. York University and the University of the Witwatersrand share the common goals of providing high quality research and learning experiences for our students and faculty and building healthier, more sustainable communities. The MOU that we're signing today will build on the long history of partnership between our universities and help us explore opportunities to collaborate on enhancing student exchanges and faculty mobility, including experiential education abroad programs, short-term summer abroad and field study programs and internships, but also expanding joint research and project cooperation and developing joint seminars, conferences, and academic meetings. Our two universities possess significant expertise in disease modeling, global health, emergency management, and artificial intelligence. The first initiative under this MOU will build on this expertise by connecting researchers from York with organizations from across Africa to predict the spread of COVID-19 and provide mathematical modeling that will help national policymakers across Africa manage the virus in real time. Assistant Professor Jude Kong, a member of the National COVID-19 Modeling Rapid Response Task Force at York, will lead the interdisciplinary team of more than 50 researchers from key academic and government institutions in 9 African countries and Canada. The project is receiving more than 1.2 million in funding from the International Development and Research Center through the Global South AI for COVID Response Program. I want to thank the University of the Witwatersrand and the IDRC for their partnership on this project. And in particular, I would like to acknowledge Vice Chancellor and Principal Zeblon Vulukazi for his leadership. He holds an honorary, Vice Chancellor joined WITS as Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Postgraduate Affairs in 2014. And he holds an honorary professorship in the Department of Physics at the University of Cape Town, and he served as a chairman of the International Atomic Energy Agency Standing Advisory Committee on Nuclear Applications from 2009 to 2011. He is currently a member of the Program Advisory Committee for Nuclear Physics at the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research in Russia. My warm welcome. I'd like to introduce Vice Chancellor Vulukazi.
Thank you for the kind introduction, President and Vice Chancellor Lenton. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and if I might say, friends, it's my pleasure to take this moment of taking one of my first official acts as the Vice Chancellor of the University of Witwatersrand to sign this MOU to establish an innovative international collaboration which will have an impact on one of the greatest existential challenges we have faced as humanity in 100 years. This has propelled us to think innovatively in solving one of the largest and greatest global challenges going forward. And if I might dare add, this is not the first, nor is it the last. There will be many to come. I see this start of this collaboration, which has been ably put together by leading scholars at both our respective universities, supported by an enabling academic support program, and in particular, funded by the IDRC, and I'm thankful to the political support we've received, and I can mention here Parliamentary Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Robert Oliphant, for the support the Canadian government has given to South Africa, not only for this project, but the IDRC has been involved even in the transitional phase of South Africa. I think this collaboration, once again, is an exemplar of what can be called equal partnership in an unequal world. Clearly, problems like pandemics, migration, and many others will continue to be at the center of policymaking framework, and they require scholars all over the world working in partnership to ensure that we provide all our skills, our intellectual impetus in ensuring that we are able to solve all these global problems. The world is increasingly getting connected at a rapidly accelerating speed. The profusion of technologies is pushed even further by challenges like these pandemics, where we are able to communicate under semi-real-time conditions across several time zones and sign MOUs in virtual space, something that was unimaginable even a year ago. So I am delighted and excited and certainly look forward to this international partnership, which will allow us not only to use AI to benefit public health, but to generate new knowledge that will help policymakers in mapping thinking and having the appropriate data to mitigate and manage future challenges that are not only brought by health challenges, but by other global and even local events. As I close, I look forward to taking this partnership between WITS and New York University, Canada further. And I'd like to thank everyone who organized the event. And once again, thank the International Development Research Center for supporting this partnership. I thank you very much.
Thank you, President Lenton and Vice Chancellor Vulukazi, for your inspiring remarks. You emphasize the importance of collaboration and community, both locally and globally, for now and for the future. We are all in this together. We are always stronger together. Thank you. It is my privilege and honor to introduce Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Robert Oliphant. Parliament Secretary Oliphant was elected MP for Don Valley West in 2015 and previously served as an MP from 2008 to 2011. He has a long track record of service to our community here in the GTA. He has a key interest in and a deep knowledge of the health sector, having formerly served as the President and the CEO of the Asthma Society of Canada. I will now open the floor to Mr. Oliphant for his remarks.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Dean Wong. It is really a tremendous pleasure to be with you today as York University and the University of Witwatersrand, I did practice that, in South Africa sign the Memorandum of Understanding to work together, not only on this first project, but on a host of other activities over many years. And this first project, obviously, with respect to the control of the spread of COVID-19 in Africa, is both timely and critically important. And I say this both in my role as Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and acknowledge that the Global Affairs Canada and York University have had an almost 30-year relationship of working together on international projects. And it is a rich relationship that I think has been not only to the benefit for York and its students and faculty, but also for the world. And this is one more step in the international activities that York does so well. But also, I bring my passion and my love for Africa to this event today. And that for almost 5 years, I was co-chair of the Canada-Africa Parliamentary Association. And in that role, I led delegations to over 25 countries in Africa, including South Africa, and got to know the continent, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, very well, and have very much committed myself to, and I am going to steal the Vice Chancellor's phrase about equal partnership in an unequal world, because I believe that's what we need to continue doing, to find respectful ways of working together, to share those activities, to rebalance the world and to ensure equity and justice for all. Des partenariats comme celui-ci pourront contribuer à freiner la pandémie, à éviter 40 millions de personnes tombent dans l'extrême pauvreté. Le Canada est profondément préoccupé par la menace qui pèse sur le progrès réalisé en matière de développement au cours des dernières décennies. Nous nous engageons à collaborer avec nos partenaires africains pour faire face à cette situation. As you know, vulnerable people living in sub-Saharan Africa have been especially hard hit by COVID-19, and the impact on the continent's health outcomes and health systems will be long-lasting. Canada has launched many new projects and pivoted existing ones in a number of areas, and we're working to strengthen health systems, including support for healthcare centers, training healthcare and community health workers. We were approached both as parliamentarians and as a government by York's own Dr. James Rubinski last year, and he challenged us to do better when it comes to finding ways to encourage cooperation, fairness, and particularly with respect to health systems in our world. And I hope that we can continue to do that work. This pandemic has hit the most vulnerable extremely hard. The women and children have lost hard-won gains in areas like sexual and gender-based violence services, child protection and education, and Canada is attempting to adapt our programs to meet those new needs. We're also working on providing personal protective equipment and water, sanitation, and hygiene activities to fight the spread of COVID-19. And in addition, we provided a $1 billion loan to the International Monetary Fund to meet the urgent needs of low-income countries, including many in sub-Saharan Africa. When I hear that sub-Saharan Africa now has more than 1.5 million cases of COVID-19, with half of them in South Africa, I am especially pleased to hear of the first initiative under this MOU. The work that you will do on predictive modeling and forecasting the transmission of COVID-19 in Africa using artificial intelligence will certainly help to get ahead of the curve and turn this situation around. I'm very interested to hear how you plan to do that with funding provided by the International Development Research Center. It gives me an opportunity to praise the IDRC, which not enough Canadians know about. And they know little about the tremendous work which is rooted in academics and science and research, but practical in, again, forming equal partnerships in an unequal world. So my hat goes off to the IDRC, and I look forward to even future collaborations with you. And I want to thank Nasser Faruqi, their Director of Education and Science, for this program and for the many education programs and other work that you do around the world. In the meantime, congratulations to York, to the University of Witwatersrand, and making sure that we have a way to continue this work for the betterment of all of us in the world. Thank you for your work today and tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oliphant. And with the support of government, with the participation of the community, with the partnership and globally, we will be ahead of the curve, flatten the curve, and eventually erase the curve. It's my pleasure to introduce Nasser Faruqi, Director of Education and Science at the Government of Canada's IDRC. Mr. Faruqi leads a global team that helps vulnerable children and adults benefit from high-quality education and strong science systems. His areas of expertise include education, water management, urban development, and climate change, science and innovation systems in developing countries. I will now invite Mr. Faruqi to give his remarks.
Well, thank you very much, Dean Wong, and good morning, everyone. Honorable Parliamentary Secretary Oliphant, President Lenton, and Vice Chancellor Villacasi, as well as all esteemed panelists and guests. It's really an honor for me to join you all today to represent the IDRC in the signing of an MOU between York University and the University of Witwatersrand. We're really delighted that this partnership between York University, one of Canada's foremost universities, and the University of Witwatersrand is building new cooperation for advancing science in Africa and Canada. Now, for those of you that aren't as familiar with IDRC, IDRC is a Canadian Crown corporation that supports research to improve the lives of people in the developing world. We support scientists and innovators to develop solutions, to scale those solutions and amplify the knowledge that they create for greater impact. And I want to thank Parliamentary Secretary Oliphant for your kind words. And in fact, as Vice Chancellor Villacasi noted, IDRC was instrumental in supporting research by and helping to train many of the scientists that became part of Nelson Mandela's first cabinet in South Africa. So this year, IDRC is going to launch our new 10-year strategy that sets out our vision for creating a more sustainable and inclusive world. Climate change and inequality, including gender inequality, are and moving towards gender equality are at the heart of this vision. And with this strategy, IDRC will continue to invest in high quality research and innovation in developing regions, promote and share knowledge with users for uptake that leads to local and global impact, and continue to work in partnership by mobilizing alliances with other funders and public and private actors to advance shared solutions. We're excited to come together today over this joint initiative that's part of this new strategic vision that we have. IDRC is investing in responsible artificial intelligence for development in Africa and throughout the developing world, and this includes a number of initiatives. One of them is Artificial Intelligence for Development Africa, which is a $20 million partnership between IDRC and the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, where we're partnering with African machine learning communities to support responsible homegrown development and deployment of AI through investments in capacity strengthening, innovation, and policy research to enable Africans to participate and contribute to the AI revolution, to support innovation in areas like health, agriculture, and education, where perhaps the market won't go, to ensure that AI is really used to improve the lives of people that are marginalized, and policy research to ensure that we maximize the benefits of AI and mitigate the harms, the potential risks to civil liberties, to human rights and democracy. So we share a vision in which AI empowers Africans to have a more inclusive, prosperous, and greener future. Another initiative is cutting-edge research on critical feminist perspectives on AI that ensures that AI innovations deliver on transformative potential for everyone, and as I said, mitigate harms which often disproportionately affect women. In Canada, we're engaging with a new global partnership on artificial intelligence to ensure that global AI policies are informed by Southern scientists. And this is in line with expanding the reach of the Montreal Declaration on Artificial Intelligence. We're also partnering with the Government of Canada and other actors to advance a responsible AI index to advance government's commitments to supporting human rights globally, and that is representative of Global South perspectives. And this brings me back, of course, to today and this joint project between York University and UWITS, which is part of our Global South AI for COVID program, a cohort of 9 projects over 2 years to mobilize machine learning research to support COVID-19 response and recovery in low and middle income countries, and to ensure that those countries have policies and models available to respond not only to today's pandemic, but those of tomorrow. So York University and its partners, including UWITS, were amongst the leaders in this competitive call for proposals, which received over 300 applications and was selected by a multidisciplinary peer review committee made up of machine learning specialists, of epidemiologists and public health experts, and digital rights and inclusion experts. This project will go a long way in fostering collaboration, working with a consortia of partners to ensure real-time modeling to inform public health interventions and policies across Africa. I'd like to congratulate Dr. Jude Kong, you and the entire team of researchers for the great work to date, and look forward to hearing about the lessons and the findings from this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Faruqi. And through you, I want to say thank you to IDRC for your support to this critically important project, as well as many previous projects you supported. And at York University, we are looking forward to many more to come. It is my pleasure to introduce Jude Kong, Assistant Professor in the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Faculty of Science, York University, a member of the National COVID-19 Modeling Rapid Response Task Force at York. He is the head of the IDRC project, Predictive Modeling and Forecasting of the Transmission of COVID-19 in Africa using artificial intelligence. Professor Kang, the virtual podium is yours now.
Thank you so much, Dean Wang. President and Vice Chancellor Linton, Vice Chancellor and Principal Vilakazi, Director Faruqi, Secretary Oliphant, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, bonjour tout le monde. I will be talking about our project that we're doing, which is on predictive modeling and forecast of COVID-19 transmission in Africa using artificial intelligence. This is part of the IDRC, our International Development Research Center, as well as the CIDA Global South AI for COVID Response Program. And the countries of impact include Botswana, Cameroon, Eswatini, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Rwanda, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. Now, before I present or talk about the project, I would like to take some time to talk about the consortium that we formed and the objective of our consortium. Earlier last year, we came together after a conversation, which I will be acknowledged later, the people that put this together, after a conversation, initial conversation with Professor Jianhong Wu, who's my colleague and a great guy, a great mentor. We came together and decided that how do we have this goal of objective of building human and institutional capacity across Africa. And in order to ensure that we strengthen policy intervention, population health, environmental sustainability and health, gender and social equity in Africa. So when I had this conversation with Jianhong Wu, he thought that it would be great to form this consortium and to move on with this great idea. And needless, I will be emphasizing this a lot, but it means so much that York University, this is not what it's not common to hear this, or to not a university will look at a young faculty just coming in and young faculty and put all their weights on him. But York University, with the help of Jianhong Wu, linking me to the main people that could help me, put together their weight on me and ensure that my dream, which is something, an aspiration I had long ago, come true. In particular, I'm thinking about Professor Jianhong Wu reaching out to the research faculty in the Faculty of Science that put a lot of time to ensure that our consortium was put in place that will go a long way to ensure that we build human and institutional capacity when it comes to artificial intelligence. We do not want any country to be left behind. We do not want any country to be left behind when the future is moving towards AI and AI is informing people. And I really cannot overemphasize how much what York University did meant to me. So Jianhong Wu, with the help of putting out the research faculty, the Faculty of Science, Margaret Ho, the team that is part of the transformative disaster risk governance and emergency management that's made of Ali Asghari, Professor Ali Asghari, and Professor James Obinsky that has a lot of knowledge on global health. So he put together this team, as well as some of the members of our Canadian COVID-19 Modeling Rapid Response Task Force. They put together this team and ensured that we were able to set the consortium that I had in mind, that I discussed with him about, and I really want to appreciate this. I don't know if I can really appreciate this enough. I wouldn't leave out Simon Levin, my postdoc advisor at Princeton, that through his connection, I was introduced to Bruce Millardo of Wits University, a colleague that I'm proud to say is a friend now. I talk to him almost every day. And through him, we have gone miles, and we are doing a lot, having a lot for our continent. With our initiative and with York University, with the support we are getting from both universities, I believe that we are going to go a long way to empower institutions and build human capacity in Africa, as I dreamt earlier on, and I realized that that was Bruce Millardo's dream. So I would like to introduce the team that when we put together this consortium with my friend, practically my friend, Bruce Millardo, immediately IDRC launched a call. This was earlier, and then sometime within a year, IDRC launched a call and went into it, and we decided to say, how can we cover the entire continent to ensure that we're able to inform policymakers in every region in the continent. By region, I mean Central, East, South, West Africa. And what do we do? And we paid much attention to Sub-Saharan Africa. It's not because I come from Sub-Saharan Africa, it's because we realized that it would be great. AI is lacking behind in some of those areas, and it would be great to empower people in those communities or institutions. Now, we put together a team that was made of the Vice Chancellor of the African University of Science and Technology. We're talking about Nelson Mandela. This is Nelson Mandela Institute, Charles Chidumi. We put together Professor Ayode Oduola, who is in the University of Ibadan, Angela Opara. I want to acknowledge all these people for the leaders, the team they put together, able to reach communities in this area. When we went to Central Africa, we were able to have Professor Gideon Ngwa as well as Miranda Tebo. I want to acknowledge these people. When we went to East Africa, we were able to have Wilfred Difon, who is the research director of African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. I want to acknowledge his effort. And when we went to our Great South Africa, we had Pravish Dembe, who is the leader in the CISIR, as well as my very good friend, Bruce Milado, here present, who is equally part of the Wits University. And then when we come to Canada in our disaster and emergency management group, we were able to, they gave me a very great team that was made of James Obinsky that has a lot of knowledge about the continent, global health. Jen Hong Wu, who's a great modeler, a great mentor that have been doing a lot for our country as part of the task force, modeling task force. Aria Ahmed, who is a girlfriend right now, that has been equally been doing a lot, contributing a lot when it comes to global health, as well as Ali Asgari. So we put together this team together, and I forgot to mention Josh Ono Orok, who is a politician in Cameroon, as well as a professor at the University of Buea. So we put together this team together to ensure that, okay, if these teams are based in different regions in Africa, let's start with these regions. For each region in Africa, let's pick a country and see whether we can put up a team that can bring in policymakers and modelers together. And so that led to this grant, which I will be talking to you about our research dream methodologies, what we're doing. With these teams that was based in South Africa, made of Wits University and the CSIR, University of Buea in Cameroon, Central Africa, African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. I want to emphasize about Nelson Mandela Institute, which is the UST, University of Ibadan, as well as the IMS, IMS, which is African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, as well as African University of Science and Technology, which is in Abuja, in Nigeria, as well as our university, York University. We brought in these people together that had expertise in mathematical modeling, artificial intelligence, data science. And our goal was, can we develop data-driven COVID-19 mentoring dashboard that will reach local communities, local people that do not have access to the internet? And that's why we're partnering with MTN in South Africa, that's covered all of Africa, or Orange, to ensure that people are well informed of what is happening. And by then, my colleagues in Wits University had already established a dashboard for Southern Africa. And we were saying, can we export this knowledge to other African countries? The next thing that we thought of was, can we develop an economic epidemiological model for scientists and policymakers for the entire continent? Now, we looked at, when we talk of non-pharmaceutical interventions, when it comes to Africa, we look at it from a different perspective. And our aim was, can we determine factors affecting non-pharmaceutical interventions that were put in place by different regions in Africa? When it goes to different regions, different non-pharmaceutical interventions were put in place. And we wanted to find out, can we study that so as to inform them future outbreaks? Can we study the effect of home quarantine? A lot of people were not, given their beliefs, people have different beliefs in different regions. How do we study the effects of home quarantine on local spatial models for hotspot analysis? We were thinking about that. Can we determine non-pharmaceutical intervention effects on healthcare demand? What do I mean by this? A lot of people, when they started, they put a lot of non-pharmaceutical interventions. It's a different continent, a different region, a different way of thinking. And so people were thinking differently. I remember talking to an aunt who told me, I cannot go to the hospital because I'll be tagged with COVID. And we were saying, how do we address this to ensure that people don't die at home? Can we work together and ensure that we save lives? We inform policymakers on the way to save lives. And so we thought about that, and looking at it from a different perspective, we discussed that, okay, it would be great to do something of that sort. How do we engage the communities? Is what the WHO doing enough, or do we need to support the WHO in our own aspect to be able to engage these communities? So we discuss all these aspects. And guys, when I talk to my friends, the support I got from university and this team, I want to talk about my York University and WIT and other ones. But friends are always like, bro, I can't believe you. But the thing is, the way we got from all these institutions, be it Ministry of Public Health, politicians in different regions, was so overwhelming. We didn't believe we were going to get that. But they are concerned. A lot of people may say, oh, they don't care about the politics of people. No, but from my conversation, our conversation with this team, it's a different page. They talk differently, and we got a lot of support. Starting from the support I got at York University, my colleague got from Wits University, and the other support that we got from other institutions. It could be Ministry of Health and other things. So we got this support that we're like, my God, we will be able to achieve this objective, which is how helping policymakers to mitigate future outbreaks. Let's inform them. Let's use realities, mitigate future outbreaks. Now, the global objective of the second one was evaluate the effectiveness and potential biases of non-pharmaceutical intervention. Yes, there are a lot of different ones. You can't stop people from going to church, example. You can't stop people from going to church in some of these communities. We'll find a way to do it in a way that will prevent future outbreaks or the spread of COVID in this area. And then support local communication strategies to address mis- and disinformation, prevention of treatment. Since COVID started, I spent a lot of time on different social media groups across the continent to address some of the issues that people were saying. People could say, when I drink my local afofo, it will cure my COVID. Or when I take a green tea, like in the case of Ghana, it will cure my COVID. Afofo was a locally made drink in Cameroon. And different regions, people had different beliefs, but we were thinking, how do we, as informed people who have done the research, done the modeling, take our work and inform them and address some of these issues? So when we put this together with my colleague from Wits University, we said, we have to do something. Be it what we are doing bringing what we are doing in Canada, something like York University, and what they're doing in South Africa and other continents to be able to address some of these issues. And so we came together and put up an application that was able to address all of this and achieve these objectives. And I must say that we have been doing a great job. The local team have been able to engage the communities, and we are achieving so much. So I really appreciate that. I'm not going to just end this without acknowledging, I think I lack vocabulary. I think the English vocabulary is limited to be able to express the gratitude that we have to the IDRC, which is the Canada's International Development Research Center, for the support. Now, they didn't just give us money to be able to hire a team. Hiring this team, I want to emphasize that the team will be based in Africa, doing the work there. You are empowering humans. You are empowering institutions. They will get ready for future pandemics to fight it. It's not just this. The knowledge will be used going forward. That's one great thing. And yes, thank you, Canadian taxpayers, for doing this. But this team did not just give us the money and then just say, okay, we're going to stay behind. No. Director Faruqi has been through Fed, having meetings with us from time to time and helping us. Do you have any obstacle? Can we help you in this aspect? They've been there before Fed came in. Lauren Elder was already there, helping us, putting things in order, telling us how we can overcome different obstacles. So they are not just willing just to give the money and go, they are willing to help us to ensure that we are able to inform policies and change lives. So if I say thank you, it's not, I don't think that's the right word to use. But But what I have in my heart is different from the word thank you. I wish there were words in the vocabulary, in our vocabulary, that we could use to be able to express what I feel in my heart. And I'm not just the one that feels this. When I say this, I echo the sentiments of a lot of people in the continent that are grateful. A lot of people, yes, I know our parliamentary secretary already said that a lot of people do not know about IDRC. They don't. But when you get to discuss what they're doing, a lot of people are like, are there people doing this to help others for nothing back? So I really want to say, on behalf of the entire continent, thank you for what you're doing. I don't know the word thank you is enough, but it's what I feel is more than that. And again, I just would like to thank everyone that put this together. Thank York University. My friends are surprised that you're able to put this weight behind me to ensure that we deliver for the continent. I really want to thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Kong. We feel your heart. We feel your enthusiasm. And thank you for introducing the project and the consortium. If more than 50 researchers from 9 African countries and Canada is not a true international collaboration consortium, I don't know who else is better qualified. Next, I would like to introduce another leader of this consortium, Bruce Melado, full professor at the University of Witwatersrand and the director of the Institute for Collider Particle Physics. Professor Melado is a national contact physicist of South Africa at the Atlas experiment at CERN and the co-chair of the Nuclear Particle and Radiation Division of South Africa Institute of Physics. Professor Melado is one of the co-chairs of the Africa-Canada Artificial Intelligence and Public Health Data Modeling Consortium. The consortium will collaborate on this project, building on existing South African-led COVID-19 dashboard developed by Melado's research team, and the transition models and simulation technologies that have been developed by both at York University and the University of Witwatersrand. I would like now invite Professor Melado to give his remarks.
Thanks, Dean Wang, for the flattering introduction. I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor and President of York University, Professor Lenton, and the Vice Chancellor and Principal of Wits University, Professor Vilakazi. I also want to express my gratitude for the fact that the Director General of the Office of the Premier of the Gauteng Province is in attendance, representing the provincial government, and also we have the Vice Chancellor of the BUST, Botswana, Professor Totolo, who is a strategic partner in this exercise. So I also want to remark that I'm both supported by Wits University and Itemba Labs of the National Research Foundation, who has given us very generous support over the years. The title of my presentation is From the Discovery of the Higgs Boson to Modeling 19, and the reason for it is in order to address this question, why us? Of course, the description of the pandemic and modeling the pandemic is a multidisciplinary effort, but we have to answer the question as to why we are suited to do this kind of exercises and help society in the course of doing that. We are an institute that you have a picture here of some of us that participated in the celebrations of the 10th anniversary of the South Africa CERN consortium. The participation of South Africa at the European lab CERN has been going on for many years, but then a consortium was formed, formalized and supported by the Department of Science and Innovation in 2008, and we celebrated the 10 years then. Currently, we have about 60 people at WITS and Itemba Labs centered in particle physics, and our research basically revolves around developing big data techniques with the use of artificial intelligence to solve complex problems, to do complex modeling, and that's the reason we are here today. You probably heard about CERN, the European laboratory, because there the internet was invented and we had a major discovery in 2012. Some of us have been preparing for it for a long time. You can clearly see, you see here a picture of us here, the leading team that worked on the discovery of the Higgs boson and atlas. You see here with me with much less white hair and 20 pounds less. That was, of course, very intense time back in 2012, and that led to the Nobel Prize in physics in 2013 to the theorists that proposed that particle. Now, the discovery of the Higgs boson is a quintessential big data / artificial intelligence exercise, was the victory of sophisticated data analytics, including artificial intelligence, to solve a very complex problem, trying to see the Higgs boson among many, many, many different kinds of other types of events that were not of interest. Back in the day, that was 18 years ago, our team, I was then at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, we introduced for the first time the use of machine learning in the discovery or the preparations for the discovery of the LHC. I mean, we've been working on it. In particular, I was working on it for about 10 years. And you basically remember the time when machine learning and artificial intelligence was not particularly widely used in the community. Now, of course, things have changed drastically. Back at the time, it was actually very comforting to see the adoption of machine learning that later became the core of the discovery 10 years later. Today, CERN is a powerhouse for training of young specialist students in machine learning techniques. And as a result of that, we've become also in South Africa a powerhouse for the training of young specialists in machine learning. And as a result of that, our graduates enjoy full employment in leading companies in the country. So this brings us to the COVID-19. I think I've tried to answer the question as to why us. We understand big data, we understand artificial intelligence and the modeling of complex systems. What is COVID-19 and what is modeling of COVID-19 is essentially the modeling of another complex systems where you have inputs, you have now different kinds of data. For the Higgs discovery, we have physics data, and we have a lot of inputs in terms of epidemiology, in terms of the clinical picture in the province. Then we have an interdisciplinary team through the advisory committee to the Premier that I'm a member of, that is chaired by Dr. Mary Kawonga, that puts together epidemiologists, clinicians, public health specialists, practitioners, together with people like us, physicists and mathematicians and data scientists, that basically crunch numbers on the basis of well-established mathematical rules and artificial intelligence and provide outputs and predictions, which help us on the one hand to say, these are the underlying, or this is the underlying dynamics in the data, but also help policymakers deal with the management of such a complex problem. This led us to about 10 months ago to create what we call the Southern Africa COVID-19 consortium that was mostly made of South Africans and representatives from neighboring countries that included and include Namibia, Botswana, Eswatini, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. And we've developed, with the help, of course, of a grant from the IEEE, the invaluable support from WITS and Itemba Labs and the Department of Science and Innovation, but also the partnership with the Gauteng Province and IBM, a dashboard that has been alluded to already. And now we have the support from the IDRC. We basically have this dashboard. It started off simple and it became more sophisticated, where we have, on the basis of a collaborative model, dashboards not only in South Africa, but in all the neighboring countries to South Africa, probably with the exception of Lesotho. The dashboard that was developed in collaboration with the Botswana University, BUST, is now the one that is used by the Botswana government for advisement, and the same thing happens in Namibia. And these are basically the result of a collaborative model that has come, or is a result of the CERN experience that has been transported into a different context. The dashboard that we want to take to other countries of Africa is comprised of the South African overview with a bunch of information pertaining to the provincial breakdown, the different provinces, Google and Facebook mobility indexes, the stringency index, et cetera, the different countries that we cover, but also, last but not least, an economic modeling and the visualization of economic model. One of the things we have done that has been particularly useful for policymakers is that we created the stringency index of non-pharmaceutical interventions for South Africa that has been core to help policymakers transition from one level of alert to another. That's been particularly useful for policymakers. Upon request of the South African National Defense Force and the provincial government, we developed a risk index that helps policymakers and the population understand where we are in the pandemic, what was the probability before the second wave happened, and how fast are we going away from the second wave. This has a lot of practical implications, and this is updated on a daily basis. I'm going to talk, to conclude my presentation, two important showcases where artificial intelligence has proven to be pivotal in order to deliver answers. This is the development of hotspots, identification, and visualization in partnership with IBM. And what we have is a very complex system of hotspots in the province that is a result of mini pandemics in small communities. You need to use artificial intelligence through and supervised machine learning in order to arrive at the characteristics of those clusters. We classify them and we assign to them a particular level of severity, which is essential for the population to understand how serious the situation is in their neighborhood. IBM created a tool in collaboration with these tools that I'm talking about for the users, policymakers, and the population to zoom in and out and look down to the level of the street where the cases are, so that people understand how severe the problem is. And that has played a very important role during the second search to actually stop the search in its tracks. And we will actually talk about that together with the Premier on Friday at the press conference that is scheduled for Friday. You can see one of the things we're going to show to the population through the media is how the hotspots have evolved in time. About 10 days ago, you had a number of hotspots with a big severity. The red color indicates red severity. 10 days later, we have hotspots disappearing and the severity has dropped significantly. So that's basically telling you, it's not just numbers, but how those hotspots are evolving in time to tell you that the pandemic is going down. At least the second wave is going down. Now we go into a new phase that I will be talking about in a minute. The new and final phase, and those are my last slides here, is basically vaccination. Vaccination is a very complex problem that government understands, requires the use of artificial intelligence in order to optimize limited resources in order to maximize the effect on the population, in particular reduction of severe infection or severe disease and mortality. And this is one of the things that we plan to roll out to Africa together with the help of the consortium and the IDRC, where artificial intelligence plays a pivotal role. We've taken an integrated approach in collaboration with York University that takes into account all the suite of factors that contribute to severe disease, all the way from the probability of contracting the virus to comorbidities, age, gender, and so on, the existence of antibodies, and last but by far not least in countries like South Africa, social vulnerabilities. The only way to solve this problem is to really have an apparatus, a mathematical apparatus that takes into account up to 100 different factors that allows us to incorporate all those to advise policymakers. I'm not going to spend time here, but this is basically a demonstration that we have already delivered the first prototype of artificial intelligence-based predictions based on the multidimensional data that the Gauteng Department of Health, the GCRO, have provided, where we predict that if you just vaccinate 20% of the population, you basically are able to reduce mortality by more than a factor of 2. And then we show what sectors of the population should be vaccinated first in order to achieve this. So this is my last slide. We are now morphing from the original our regional consortium into the Africa-Canada Artificial Intelligence Data Modeling Consortium, supported by the IDRC, and we're extremely eager to be able to work with our partners in Africa and Canada, and we're very thankful to the support by the IDRC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Melado. Now, please allow me to introduce Amir Azif, York University Vice President for Research and Innovation, to give his remarks.
Merci beaucoup, Adrien Wong. Bonjour et bienvenue à tous. Respected panelists, distinguished guests, the Office of the Vice President for Research and Innovation is very pleased to support the transformative Disaster Risk Governance and Emergency Management Initiative, aiming to position York University in an international leadership role by pursuing several goals in research, scholarship, and academic and professional development activities. Among the various initiatives in disaster risk governance and disaster emergency management at York University, I'd like to mention the one that is relevant to all of us and that everyone can attend in this world of Zoom. The initiative that I would like to bring to your attention is Disaster Risk Governance Symposium and webinar series intended to serve several goals. Number one, to feature researchers at different career stages, such as faculty members, graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, and trainees. Number two, to engage diverse group of interested individuals, including students, staff, disaster risk governance, undergraduate and graduate instructors, School of Continuing Studies, and university alumni working in disaster emergency management and related fields across campus by forming interdisciplinary panels. Number three, to identify key disaster risk governance leaders on and off campus, academic and non-academic, national and international, for future collaborations and involvement in strategy development with partner organizations, including municipal, provincial, federal, private sector, community, and nonprofits. The first symposium, scheduled to take place next month on February 12th at 9 a.m. will focus on exploring this subject with a group of researchers, students, and partner organizations featuring academic and non-academic disaster risk governance experts, as well as panel of York researchers. Subsequent webinars are scheduled monthly for the next 6 months. Please check URL or York University events website for details on upcoming webinars. I'm very excited about this collaboration and look forward to a truly meaningful partnerships. Respected panelists, distinguished guests, thank you once again for joining us. Over to you, Dean Wong.
Thank you, Vice President Azif, and thank you all speakers. We will now proceed with the signing ceremony for the Memorandum of Understanding. It reads, in the spirit of international education and cooperation, York University in Toronto, Canada, and the University of the Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, acting through its Faculty of Science, School of Physics in Johannesburg, South Africa, hereinafter collectively referred to as the parties or individually as a party, agreed to develop collaborative academic cooperation activities in areas of mutual academic interest. The parties shall seek to promote collaborative activities that may include the following areas: exchange of undergraduate and all graduate students on a reciprocal and balanced basis, mobility of faculty members and researchers, cooperative research and joint project development for external funding support, development and or delivery of courses, including online courses, joint teaching or supervision of graduate student, co-tutelor, joint seminars, conferences, and academic meetings, exchange of scientific and information materials that are of interest to both parties, and the development of experiential education abroad programs, including short-term summer abroad and field study programs, internships, and practical. The first initiative under this institutional MOU will be focused on predictive modeling and forecasting the transmission of COVID-19 in Africa using artificial intelligence project funded by the International Development Research Center, IDRC. I now invite President Lanton and Vice Chancellor Vilakazi to ceremoniously sign the MOU. Do we have sufficient time to take a picture now? Now I would invite all the panelists to enable your cameras. Congratulations to everyone on the signing of this agreement. It is time, although time is limited, but we do have time to entertain or address a few questions. Here you have it. The first question is congratulations, and I'm looking forward to a great partnership. That's a great question. Probably I would ask one question. There's quite a few already coming in. I will ask one question and before we close today's event. It is, what is the role of the Canadian COVID-19 modeling task force in your project, if any? Can I address this redirect question to Professor Kang?
Thank you so much, Dean Wang. I want to start by saying that the Canadian Modeling Task Force, led by Professor Jiehong Wu, was very instrumental into setting the consortium and ensuring that we're able to take the modeling aspect that we have at York University and transfer it to merge it with what we have at this university and transfer to other regions in Africa so that we can use it to inform policymakers. So after the consortium was formed, the modeling task force did not just leave me there. I constantly have met with them on a weekly basis at the Field Institute, and they give advice. Currently, right now, we had a meeting with Bruce Melado on South Africa when the new strain came up in South Africa. The Canadian Modeling Task Force did not just leave that, they stepped in and they were giving advice as to how that could be handled. They didn't just leave there, they're looking at how do we try to find out that if this new strength doesn't exist in other African countries that do not have this? How can we help you with the modeling force? So constantly I give feedbacks and they always give input. So the modeling task force is there constantly guiding us throughout the entire process. And they are working hand in glove with us.
Thank you very much, and Professor Kang, for the answer. For the time limitation, I apologize, and I have to conclude this session. So our formal event for today is closed. Thank you to all of you, to our speakers and our attendees, and to those who are working on and helping to supporting this important project. Have a great day in Canada and a great evening in South Africa. Thank you. Merci, miigwech.
Thank you.
Thank you.